All right, imagine this. Imagine unlocking the gates of Harvard, Yale, or Princeton. What does it take to earn a coveted spot in the Ivy League? Join me in welcoming Mr. Doshi, who will take us all on a journey to uncover the secrets, strategies, and stories behind achieving academic excellence and gaining admission to the world's most prestigious universities.
Thank you for that very warm welcome, and good afternoon, everyone. What a pleasure to be here. When NDTV had asked me to do this session on careers, foreign education, I felt the best way to do a session like this would be to have a more of an interactive session, not just me giving you a talk or a speech. So what I'm going to do today, let's divide the session into two parts today. One, I'll give you a small, not small, but I'm going to address questions that NDTV has prepared in conjunction with teachers, parents, and students. And then after finishing all that, let's open up the floor for questions and answer sessions, and that'll be much more interactive and hopefully help you to demystify the application process, and more than that, give you clarity on a lot of things which are hounding parents and students and teachers today. So I think let's first start the session on a topic before we go into all these applications and Ivy League nonsense. Let's first talk about careers and career planning. And one question which was addressed to me was, how to identify a career if the child is not sure of a career choice? How to get kids to start thinking and narrowing down what they would like to do in high school and beyond? I think this is a question which impacts virtually everybody. Me, you, everybody, isn't it? So before I get into that, let me just share with you. Over the years, lots of students have come to me and met with me with their parents, and my question to most of them is, do you have any idea what you would like to do after your high school or after grade 12? I would say 30% do, but 70% don't. To that 70%, I would always make a remark, when you decide what you want to do at an undergraduate degree, try and do something which you enjoy. Because eventually in life, it's not your undergraduate degree which is going to count, it's going to be your postgraduate qualification. But if you do something which you enjoy at an undergraduate degree, you will excel. And if you excel, you can go to any top postgraduate qualification afterwards. Let me give you some interesting examples that you must have heard of. There's a very famous company in India called Mahindra & Mahindra. They have a chairman called Mr. Anand Mahindra. Undergraduate degree, a BA in film studies, managing automobile company. Or Mr. Jack Ma, the person in Hong Kong, started Alibaba, biggest internet company in China. Undergraduate degree, BA in English. Or Sundar Pichai, who runs a computer science company, undergrad degree, bachelor's in metallurgical engineering. But because all these three gentlemen did something which they enjoyed, they excelled. And because they excelled, all of them landed up doing their MBA from top business schools. Mr. Sundar Pichai went to Wharton Business School, Jack Ma went to the top business school in China, and Mr. Mahindra went to Harvard Business School. It is that MBA degree which taught each of them more about management to go and run their respective companies. So folks, what you study at an undergraduate degree, where you study, is honestly irrelevant. It's how well you do which is most important, and you'll always do well in something that you enjoy. So again, the million-dollar question is, how do I find out what I enjoy? The same question which has been asked right now. I would say 4 steps to do that. First and foremost, when you're in grade 9, 10, or 11, undertake what is called a psychometric test. Very fancy word, psychometric test. This is a test in which we analyze the child's strengths and weaknesses, interest, and their aptitude. And then we merge all three together to see what is the best career option for you. For example, you may want to do engineering, but you may not have the aptitude. Or you'll discover you have a great aptitude to go into law, which you might not even have thought about. So from a psychometric test, we're able to shortlist 2 to 3 careers for you, in which you not only have a strong aptitude, but even a strong interest. And once we do that, I tell students now, go and read more about the careers which have been shortlisted for you. Let's say for a minute, medicine comes up as a career option. If you read about medicine in a career book or on the internet, you'll have much better insights as to what that career has to offer. Number 3, and very, very helpful, speak to professionals in fields that you want to pursue a career in. Let's say you want to pursue a career in digital marketing. Go and speak to 3 digital marketing experts. Find out what is the future in this career, what are the pluses and minuses, what are the hurdles I need to cross to become a successful digital marketing expert. Why? They have been in this field for so many years. They'll give you a much better idea than anybody else can. But the most important, job shadowing. Today, when you go to buy a new house or you attend a new school, you go and see it before you attend it or before you buy a house. Then isn't it important that you also have a look at a career before you jump into it and spend the next 10, 20 years of your life in that career? So in your summer of your 10th, summer of your 11th, go and spend at least a day or two in different careers which have been shortlisted to you from the psychometric test. Believe me, it'll really open up eyes for you. So if you do a combination of a psychometric test, do reading about the careers which have been shortlisted for you, speak to professionals, and do some job shadowing. Believe me, you will really get to know what is the best career option for you after grade 12. So that's the right way to do it. It's a very scientific method. And a lot of people ask me, are these psychometric tests accurate? Are they important? Yes, they are. I would say amongst more than hundreds of students we have done psychometric testing with, 9 out of 10 have been very accurate. So please pursue that. Right time to do it would be sometime in grade 9, grade 10, grade 11, especially grade 10 is the best time because we in India have to decide what board to do in grade 11 and 12, what subjects to select in grade 11 and 12. So grade 10 I find is the best time to do a psychometric test and follow it up with all the other things which I have told you. That brings me to careers again. You know, today when we grew up in India, our parents were very compartmentalized. You could only do engineering, law, CA or medicine. I think today the world has come far from where we were earlier. India has grown so rapidly. So I tell any parent now, allow your child to do what he enjoys. Don't get compartmentalized. We are so compartmentalized because in India, we were all dependent on security. And security came through these four engineering fields, 4 fields that I told you, engineering, law, CA, medicine. Allow your child to explore and find out what he wants to do because believe me, it's your postgraduate degree which is going to count. So do what you enjoy, folks. And believe me, it'll give you success on long-term basis. So once you know what career you want to do, the second question is, where should I do it? You have a choice to do it in India or to go overseas, isn't it? And obviously, India is a big choice today. Majority stay back in India, but a lot of people go overseas also. Today, if you look at the last 15, 20 years in India, the countries besides India which are very popular for going overseas has been USA, Canada, UK, and continues being so. India is also getting into popularity because of new colleges which have come up. But still, USA, UK, I would say out of 100 students who go abroad today, 60 to 70% go to US. And 20 to 25% would go to UK or to Canada. And there are reasons for that, because historically, these schools are, they have such strong research facilities, world-class faculty, English-speaking community, that people get attracted to it. And the biggest reason why people go to these 3 countries are the global reach. When you have a degree from USA, Canada, UK, you can work anywhere in the world. You can work in Dubai, Singapore, Hong Kong, India. And the other countries which are coming up, as somebody asked me that, what about emerging countries like Hong Kong, Australia, Europe, and Ireland? They are coming up, but they'll take a long time. But also remember, in Singapore, you've got 3 good universities, SMU, NUS, NTU. In Hong Kong, you've got 2 good universities. Australia, you've got maybe 7 to 8 good universities. But in Canada, you've got 25 top colleges. In UK, you've got like 100 top colleges. In US, you've got 500 top colleges. So what happens? You have a much bigger choice out there. And that's what gives you advantage when you're applying to these 3 countries. But I think the major reason to go to these countries in the West has been the ability to have a global reach and opportunity to do research work, which is not very common in the other countries. But now Europe is coming up very popularly. I find Netherlands, Germany, Spain, France is coming up well, but they have a long way to catch up with the West, I would say. And the West still remains a priority for most students to go to if they have to go abroad. Having said that, one of the big questions is it still good to go to the USA? You know, honestly, this is a question I was being asked over lunch today, and nothing has changed in USA. Yes, you hear all this media hype about funding being taken away. You hear about stories about people not getting, people being deported from there. But then I asked the people, have you heard of anybody who's been deported? No, actually, no. We have heard from somebody. So I think America is still a great country to go to. And the virtues of America is its flexibility. I've had students who want to study engineering in the USA. They've graduated in filmmaking. Look at the strong research. Look at the innovation. Look at any of the innovation technology. It all takes place in the USA at the end of the day. Over and above that, in USA, you have a very strong diversity, international student body from all over the world. You also have a world-class faculty to learn under. And with all these things put together and global reach, the USA is the prime destination to go to today. But again, people have been asking this question last 5 months, what has happened? Well, things have changed in USA. I'll talk about that a little later on. But coming back to the question, where are people going abroad today? I would say 80 to 85% would be USA, Canada, and UK, whatever changes may be there. And the emerging markets are still going to take some time, but they will grow, but it's going to take a much longer time to get to where USA, Canada, and UK is. One of the interesting questions was, what are some of the trends we are seeing with US college applications? This is very interesting. In USA, if you're applying for undergraduate studies, about 15, 20 years ago, they introduced what is called the Common App. And because of the Common App, you can apply to multiple colleges with one application form, up to 20 colleges. As a result, there's been a surge in admissions, applications for colleges in America, making it much more competitive. Number two, which not many people know out here, in the last 2 years, a lot of colleges, they not perhaps say this to you, they have used AI and machine learning to predict an applicant's potential to do well in college and what sort of career path they do. So they can be much more selective this way. Three, and a very interesting phenomenon which we in India are not aware of, you know, if there are 100 seats in American college, there is something called MALDC. What is MALDC? Out of the 100 seats, about 35% go to MALDC. That's 10% go to minorities, 10% go to athletes, 5% go to students of father, mother, grandfather, grandmother who have gone, this is called legacy. 5% go to donors to colleges, and balance 5% go to students of, children of professors and administrators. So eventually, out of 100 seats, 35 are already gone. So you're only fighting for 65 seats. That is why you see admissions are becoming so competitive. Just to give you some statistics to put things in perspective, I'm giving you 4 good universities in America. Boston University, in 2005, the acceptance rate was 52%. Last year, it was 10.7%. USC, which was 30% in 2005, last year was 9.3%. NYU, very popular school, 32% in 2005, 8% this year, last year. And UPenn, which was 20%, it's 5.38% this year. So a lot of students come and tell me, oh, you know, my uncle got in, my cousin got in 10 years ago with these sort of marks. I said, they won't get in anymore. It's become much more competitive now. So please be aware, competition is increasing, and you must embrace it as you apply to colleges to make your application stand out. Again, a very important question. With the rise of local institutions in India, are students looking at staying back generally? You know, I'm a big fan if a child can get into a good Indian college, it doesn't have a good college abroad, staying in India is a great option. We have some great colleges in India. In the last 10 years, lots of colleges have opened up. But the sad part is, for every one college which has opened up, there are 25 high schools which have opened up. So it's become a funneling effect. So even getting to the new colleges has become so much more difficult, as by default, people are going abroad today. But India has fabulous colleges, and you know, to convince a child to stay back in India is not easy today. But if he looks at India as a glass half full and looks at Indian colleges, they are marvelous today. Look at Ashoka, look at O.P. Jindal, look at Shiv Nadar, Ahmedabad University, Flame, Kriya. I can go on naming colleges. And students have done extremely well from there. So yes, I think today if parents are given a choice to stay back in India for equally good school, I would say they would love to stay back. But question is, let's say things like engineering. You can't get into IIT or any top engineering college. So by default, people are going abroad. But yes, colleges have come up in India, and I would look at them very seriously. If you have certain careers in mind, like a humanities or a business-based careers, Indian colleges are superb. So also are the other colleges, but they're much more competitive. Even the colleges like Ashoka or Kriya have become so much more competitive than they were even 10 years ago. But Indian colleges, fabulous option to look at if you're open to the idea of being in India. So folks, children, you're staying back in India, look at India as a glass half full, not as a glass half empty. If you embrace India for 3 years, believe me, you can make a winning application to go to a top postgraduate college. As a matter of fact, a lot of my students want to stay back in India. I coined a term called 3+1. Do 3 years India, 1 year masters in UK, and then go for another postgraduate degree to USA. It works like a charm. And if you stay back in India, if you plan your 3 years in India with proper extracurricular activities, research, internships, summer schools, you can have a brilliant application on par with anybody who's gone abroad. Then the next question was the shifting jobs, internship landscapes, especially for international students, and how families and students should recalibrate their expectations and prepare mentally for different outcomes. This is a big, big challenge. You've been hearing a lot of stories, what's happening in America right now. Beyond the stories, let me tell you, costs are going up. Today, a cost in American school is averaging around $100,000 a year, not a small sum of money. Standardized testing is back, so people are not very fond of standardized testing, find it challenging to go to USA. But the biggest question is the OPT. There's a lot of uncertainty about OPT is optional practical training you get after you finish your undergraduate degree. Is in Congress right now. We don't know what's going to happen, whether they will remove it or they'll change it or amend it. Questions, we don't know what's going to happen. There's a lot of uncertainty with that also. Let me tell you, this year, I'm looking at my students who are in America, 50% have not got jobs. And I would say 90% haven't even got internships this year. This is the changing in America right now. So if you're going to go to America, it's no more the old American dream that you go there, you work for 2 years, you study there for 4 years, you work for 2 years, do your postgraduate degree, and settle down out there. Those things are changing now. You're going to go to America for the education, for the opportunity they give you in terms of research. That nothing has changed. It's as normal as it was 10, 15, 20 years ago. You have to be mentally prepared. You may have to come back to India for internships. You'll be mentally prepared to come back to India for jobs. But that is going to be a big change in America in the future. And this is happening more and more right now, as you must be hearing from your friends also. Again, a very important question, the difference between a university and a liberal arts education. In India, we have this misconception of liberal arts being humanities. No. A liberal arts curriculum is a curriculum which encompasses humanities subjects like English, history, psychology, philosophy, and pure sciences like physics, chemistry, biology, maths, computer science. That is called liberal arts. So what are careers like engineering, law, medicine, CA, architecture called? Professional degrees. So in America, you have what are called universities like Harvard, Stanford, Berkeley, Michigan. They are called universities because they offer a liberal arts curriculum. They also offer professional courses. Whereas liberal arts colleges like Amherst, Williams, Swarthmore, they only offer a liberal arts curriculum. So that brings me to the next question, an important question about the Ivy League. Ivy League are universities, okay? What is Ivy League? About 50 years, 1950s, 8 colleges in the East Coast got together to play sports. They were Harvard, Princeton, Yale, UPenn, Dartmouth, Cornell, Brown, and Columbia. And they wanted to call their sports conference something, they call it Ivy Conference because Ivies were growing on the walls. And then over the years, it became Ivy League. And because Ivy League colleges themselves were very synonymous with quality education, Ivy League got associated with quality education. So Ivy League are only 8 colleges, the 8 ones which I just named you. MIT, Stanford, Caltech are not Ivy League, but they are even better or even as good as the Ivy League colleges. So these 8 Ivy League colleges and Stanford, MIT, and Caltech are put in the same category as being Ivy League schools in America. And what makes them so special, whether to go or not to go is another story, but what makes them so special is many reasons. People aspire for Ivy League schools. 1, you get a head start in life when you graduate because of the alumni network. 2, you command much higher salaries, I find, in the fields of law, finance, and consulting. A lot of credibility and branding when it becomes gateways to top postgraduate colleges, top faculty and research opportunities, soft power and influence, and a disproportionate amount of people who are in top jobs in Fortune 500. But having said that, is Ivy League the be-all and the end-all? Not at all. It's an option that you have to apply to. So it brings me to how to go to Ivy League school. And is it important to go to Ivy League school? We'll talk about that later. But to go to Ivy League school or to any college in America, remember they look at 5 things. Academics, your standardized test called SAT or ACT, your extracurricular activities, your recommendations from 2 teachers and a counselor, and your essays. Eventually, academics and SATs account for 60 to 65% weightage. Your extracurriculars and recommendations will be 30-35% weightage, and your essays will be 5 to 10% weightage. So folks who want to go to a top college in America, let me tell you one thing, the secret recipe, it's first academics, second academics, third academics, fourth academics, and fifth academics. We have forgotten that, especially in urban cities like Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore, Calcutta. Only one word is being used, profile building. Profile building never gets you into Ivy League school. What gets you into sterling academics, being a topper in your school? Yes, you do have a profile afterwards which you can build up. but first focus on academics. Secret recipe to go to Ivy League school is academics. You know, the admission rates at Ivy League schools vary between 2 to 5%. Now, if you don't have a good academic profile, who's going to get you in? If you're doing CBSE, they want a 95% plus. If you're doing IB, you're doing a 41 out of 42. That's how things have changed. But there's a silver lining in all these things. Depends on the president of the college. They then decide how many they want from India. India competes with China. For example, this year, Princeton took only 4 from India. They should take 15, 16. As opposed to at Stanford, we should take 12 to 15 to 26 from India this year. So it all depends year to year what they want to do and how they are comparing India with China. Our main competitor is China. So that's why one thing you should be very well aware, the secret recipe to go to an Ivy League school, if I may share with you, is first, sterling academics. Try to be in the top 5% of your school or topper or top 3 in your school. And number 2, besides having good standardized testing scores and having good recommendations, very important that when you do your profile building, they say, Mr. Doshi, we love to take students who have done community outreach at a grassroots level on a sustainable basis. How are you empowering people? They want something quite different out there. That's what we should look at. How do we empower people at a grassroots level on a sustainable basis? That's been a key success. If you look at any Ivy League admit, majority have not, they had good education, good academics, good SAT scores, but they did something different, something unique. And it was always empowering people or doing something which stood them out completely. So to go to Ivy League school, there is no secret recipe. As I said, again, focus on academics, get your standardized test up there. Ivy League cutoffs in SAT is about 1550, ACT is about 35. Okay, get sterling recommendations and do some, also in extracurricular activities, don't go berserk. It's better to do 3 or 4 things than go into depth. They're doing a multiple of things and being a jack of all. They don't like jack of all. They like master of 1 or 2 and do it well. Analyze. Actually, you should go back and analyze students who have gone to Ivy League schools and see what they have done. You'll see a very uniform pattern. They've done something quite different which nobody else had done. There are parents who believe that if a child hasn't got into Ivy, they are nowhere. So true. So Bombay, Delhi. Oh my God. There's a question, oh, my child didn't get into Ivy League school. So what's the big deal? I've had, for one successful Ivy League admit, or people who have been successful at Ivy League education, 5 who have not done Ivy League admit more successful. But we become so paranoid because, again, it's all one upmanship in the cocktail circuit of Delhi and Bombay. My child goes to Ivy League school. And eventually I've seen my Ivy League school students have not done any better than my students have gone to non-Ivy League schools. So parents, please remove this from your mind that Ivy League is the way to go about America. It's all fed into us that Ivy League is the way all and the be all. It is not. Any top 100 college in America will give you a quality education, believe me. And if you can tell this to your child also, because stress levels have become so high. Every parent, every child is stressed out because he wants to go to Ivy League school. If you can get in, well and good. But when you also apply to colleges, you must be very realistic. It's like me, I'm 5'3". I want to marry Stanford who's 6'3". Enough of 6'7" people are available for her. But I think I'm so handsome looking that she'll marry me. Aspire for something which is 5'5", 5'6", but we don't do that. And that's when disappointments come in and people say, oh, I didn't get in the right college. But if you are aspirational, which is just above you, you'll always be a very happy person. Do you think students are facing more competition than in the past? Yes, indeed. In India, why is competition increased? Foreign exchange is freely available now. 2, internet has become a level playing field. People from 7th, 8th tier cities are going to top colleges. I was telling somebody over lunch, you have people from Pilibhit, from Surat, from Vijayawada, from Bathinda, from Gorakhpur, Asansol going to top Ivy League schools. 3, rising affluency. People have become more affluent now, more money to spend. So people want to send their child abroad. And 4, and most importantly, more international schools have come up. You know, I was looking at statistics. In 2010, there were 80 IB schools in India. Today, there are more than 175 IB diploma schools. In 2010, there were 100 A-level schools in India. Today, there are more than 200. So, and then on top of that, getting into Indian colleges is so competitive. It's a funneling effect. So going to America has become, that's why everybody wants to go to America or to a top college abroad. So it is very, very competitive. So you always have to be one step ahead of the competition. So when you're in high school, grade 9, 10, 11, 12, folks, please focus on academics, focus on your standardized testing, focus on 2 or 3 extracurricular activities which stand you out. Believe me, admissions will happen. And it's not that difficult if you plan it properly. That's why you require a good counselor who can guide you how to plan your next 4 years in high school. Should I send my child abroad for undergraduate programs if he gets into a top college? Only if he gets into a top college. Else he should study in India, as India is equally good, or rephrase as if if someone is getting into a course in a reputed university in India, will you still recommend her to go abroad? Well, it's a very tricky question. I would say eventually for me, the country is not important. Go to a good college. If you can afford, you want to get that exposure abroad, I would not say no to a child to go abroad. But if monetary situation is such that you can't go abroad and you are not keen to go abroad, staying back in India is a great option. Believe me, as a matter of fact, all my students have stayed back in India. If you look at Silicon Valley, if you look at 1/3 of promoters are from India, of the Silicon Valley startups, 99% are homegrown from India. They're not studied abroad at an undergraduate degree. So I'm a big fan. If you can get in a good college in India, it's a great, great option, because I find if you stay in India, you're far more street smart, you're better networked also, and long term, if you do your postgraduate degree abroad, it makes a very big difference, and you really become a winner at the end of the day. So going to a good college in India, if you can get in, nothing like it. But then what do you tell people, like engineering, medicine? It's become so competitive. That is why by default you're going abroad, not because you need to go abroad, okay? So India is a good option, but as a matter of fact, something I was telling over lunch again today, that a lot of my students are going abroad, but I'm bringing them back to India, reverse migration. Do your 3 or 4 years abroad, but come back and do your MBA at IIMs or ISB out here. Fabulous combination, because India is the most happening place today, and if you can come back to India, nothing like it by having a postgraduate degree from India itself. Do you think success is guaranteed if a student gets in a top college? Not at all. Not at all. Over the 30 years I've seen my students, I don't think success has come by which college they went to. It's come by sheer determination and adaptability and hard work, as I said. And this is something I would love each parent and student to read, a lovely book written by Frank Bruni. It's called Where You Go Is Not What You'll Be. Frank Bruni, Where You Go Is Not What You'll Be. It debunks the myth of elite colleges, believe me. Have a look at that. You'll feel much happier that your child is going to a good college if he hasn't gone to Ivy League school or elitist college. Couple of questions more specific to America. Doing international boards in grade 11 and 12 have an advantage over Indian boards for overseas admissions? Not at all. Both of them are completely on par. It's how well you do. If you look at the best results in Delhi, majority are from state boards, CBSE boards. So it doesn't make a difference that IB is better than CBSE. All of them are good. It's how well you do which counts at the end of the day. How important is profile building to get into a good university? It's important and not important. It is important after you have your academics in place. Once you have your academics in place, yes, profile building is important. But again, as I said earlier, do something which you enjoy. Do something in profile building which stands you out, you know. It could be anything. To share with you some examples, I had a student who went to Dharamshala, and he understood how a government in exile functioned in Dharamshala, the Tibetan government. And then he helped curate all the artwork that they had out there, something a little different. Or somebody else who was very fond of data science and theater did a project where he prepared a database of last 100 years plays in the Broadway in America, and used AI tools to see why they were successful, to help other producers to come out with successful plays. Or somebody else did a survey on insect-eating plants. He did a survey for 2 years and documented it, which is supplied to the Indian government out here. So do something which excites you, because it's not doing community service which gets you in a good college, remember that. Do something which is interesting, because colleges can make out you have fudged your application. So please do something which is genuine. And yes, profile building is important, provided your academics and SATs are in place. But let me tell you, profile building does not compensate for weak academics. People think by having a good profile, I'll get into a good college. That never happens. But if you have good academics and weak profile, you get into a better college than somebody with a strong profile and not so weak and weak academics. So focus on your academics. Academics gets you in a very, very good school, and build up your profile also. Also, a predicted score is important? Not at all. Biggest myth in our schools, in IB schools in India. If you talk to any of your friends or relatives in America and ask them, do you know what are your predicted scores? They say, what are predicted scores? This is something that IB schools in India have started about 20 years ago because most of them were run by British principals. And in England, you require predicted scores. So it got percolated into IB schools. Otherwise, if you look at people who have gone from state board or CBSE, ISE boards, nobody has predicted scores. It's actual performance. So remember, to go to a good college, it's your 9th, 10th board, 11th, first term, second term, and 12th half year, not your predicted scores which count. Another very important question they ask is, by going to colleges in the summer time, is it helpful to get in a good college? Not at all. Visiting colleges have no additional value for a college admission. And number two, they also ask, getting recommendations from some well-known personality, does that help? Zero. America doesn't care whether you're the prime minister or the minister, they don't care at all. They want to see genuine recommendation. By having a well-known personality will not help you in any way at all. And last but not the least, does summer schools help you? Except for selective summer schools really have no value. It's a good experience to have, to experience some career that you want to pursue or what college life would be. But for a college application, they don't count it. Why? It discriminates against people who can't afford to go to summer schools. So summer schools are things you do to find out more about careers and about college life, but not as a tool to get into a good college at all. Finally, the last question. What do you think is the most critical role a counselor plays in shaping a student's education journey, both overseas and in India? I would say to strategize, guide, and mentor students to achieve their optimal career paths and aspirations. A good counselor is a person who can help them meet their dreams, aspire for their dreams, but at the same time be balanced, to look at a balanced list of colleges, balanced extracurricular activities, so that the child can get into what he deserves to go to. So a counselor plays a very critical role, and having a good counselor can make a very big difference. One of the questions which was asked to me earlier before I was coming to this session is, what should we embrace for the future? And this is something that I would love all of you to read. This is a book written by the president of Northeastern University, and his name is Professor Joseph Aoun, A-O-U-N, and he's written a book called, it's called Robot Proof, Higher Education in the Age of AI. Please read this book. It's absolutely brilliant. Joseph Aoun, A-O-U-N, Robot Proof, and it's on higher education in the age of AI, and all students and parents should embrace it. He's called a new term called humanics. What does a child need to embrace the future? Learn 5 things. Data literacy, to manage the flow of big data. Technology literacy, to know how machines work. Human literacy, the study of humanities and communication and design. And this is what will embrace you for the future. So on that note, let me finish my talk and let me open up the floor for question and answer session. So please do ask any questions that you have. I'll be happy to answer them and demystify some of the queries that you have.
Namaskar, sir. Sir, I'm Shikha Gautam from ITL Public School.
Hi.
Sir, my question was related to engineering. Actually, many of my PCM students, they take up physics, chemistry, maths, and they aspire for engineering. Until recent years, everybody wanted engineering in computer science. But with so many tools and apps coming up, literally you can write codes, you can test codes, you can debug codes, and much more. So do you think that computer science engineering is going to be redundant in future? And if so, what are the booming branches of engineering that will be relevant in the, say, next 20 to 30 years? For the students?
That's a very good question. I'm seeing my students in America especially, who have done computer science, who have done engineering. I would say 50% of my computer science students are unemployed today. But every engineer has been employed, irrespective of whichever engineering he has done. So engineering gives you a foundation which computer science is more of a facilitator. So in America, if you look at computer science students, A, they're not getting jobs. 2, people are getting jobs also after 5 years. They're being laid off because they get cheaper labor straight out of college at half the cost. Okay. Number 3, with more companies shifting to AI, I was talking to the head of Microsoft in India. He's saying, Viral, in 2 years' time, we won't be recruiting any software engineers. Number 4, I'm looking at the history of my computer science students. After 5 to 10 years, yes, 10, 20% have done extremely well. But more than 50 to 60% are struggling to find their career paths, They join one startup or another startup. They make one app or another app. There is no stability at all. So I'm a big fan. Computer science is very, very important. We must embrace computer science. We must use AI and computer science, but do it with something. Do it with computer engineering. Do it with economics. Do it with mathematics. Do it with biochemistry. Go into computer shop. You must learn computer science, use computer science, embrace computer science. But I'm not a very big fan of doing computer science by itself today because if you look at America, the biggest problem are the computer science students. They're not getting jobs today. It's become a saturated market. So, but engineering, if you ask me, any engineering will do well. I would say from civil to mechanical to mechatronics to biomedical, every engineering is, because we will require engineers. But we fear that AI will replace engineers. AI will not replace anything. AI is going to help us to become better engineers. So I would say, answering your question, computer science engineering is still a very fashionable thing to go into, but look at the history of people who have gone there and where they have been afterwards, you'll see success has not come very easily. So I would still believe a conventional engineering, even like mechanical, electrical, we always will have a demand for that, but use AI and computer science tools to help you out there. So I'm a big fan of doing between engineering and computer science, hardcore engineering, whichever engineering you do, believe me, it will not make a difference at all. You'll be successful. And as a matter of fact, 50% of engineers don't even do engineering. They all land up in the finance industry, marketing, or become entrepreneurs. It's just a way of thinking, a way of training your mind to think analytically and logically. So engineering is a great platform as an undergraduate degree, which computer science doesn't give you.
In fact, sir, there are a lot of students, in fact,
Right,
toppers,
please, go
10th
ahead.
and 12th CBSE toppers here. If any one of you would like to ask any questions. Okay.
Go ahead.
Namaskar, sir. My
Namaskar.
name is Janvi Agrawal, and
Hi.
I am from ITL Public School. I am pursuing engineering, but there is a confusion on which college to choose. On what basis should a student decide whether to go overseas or stay back here?
That's a very good question. Let me put it this way. If you can get into a top engineering college in India, I'm a big fan of engineering in India. I mean, the people that come out of engineering colleges in India are sharp. You know, they have a vision. Look at Silicon Valley. 99% are from Indian homegrown engineering colleges. Do your postgraduate degree abroad. I find the zeal and the ambition because you go to a college where everybody is the best and the brightest, isn't it? So it raises your bar also. So I've seen all my students have done engineering abroad. They have done a bachelor's and they've stopped out there. But my students have done an engineering degree in India, that eagerness to go for a master's is much higher. That is why you'll see in all the master's programs abroad, you'll rarely see an Indian student who's done engineering abroad who's going for a master's program. 9 out of 10 will be homegrown engineers because they have that desire, I want to be successful. And look at Silicon Valley, it's all homegrown engineers. Even if you go to a NIT or a regional engineering college or Delhi School of Engineering, you'll have a great education. I'm a big fan of staying back in India for engineering if you can get in. The problem is getting in, isn't it? And any of the good engineering colleges in India is absolutely stupendous. And eventually you remember, when you come back to India, if you've done an undergraduate degree in engineering abroad, you have no networking in India. If you've done an undergraduate degree in India, your networking is superb. And believe me, that helps you in life eventually what networking you have. I would stay back in India if I had a choice.
All right. There is one,
Yes,
there is one
go ahead, young
student
lady.
here and there's one there. Right.
I'm Kavya Mathur, a class 11 student from ITL Public School. My question is that when a student takes science stream, so it is a common assumption that she will either do engineering, JEE or NEET. But my question is that is there any good career options in pure sciences?
Oh, lovely.
Like physics
What a
and
lovely
chemistry?
question. Thank you for asking it. Absolutely, I think... Haji, sir. Haji, sir. Both will address. I think one of the underestimated things we in India never really encourage pure science. We were looked down upon, you know. What will a child do after pure physics or pure chemistry or pure biology? But not at all. Let me share with you something. If you do something like a physics degree, let's say you do physics for undergraduate degree. You'll study astrophysics, quantum physics, particle physics, high energy physics, laser physics. After that, you can do a master's in physics, do a PhD, and go into academia, or you may go to teach, or you may go into research. But after PhD, after doing a BSc in physics, a lot of my students go and work in the finance industry. They do a CFA and MBA. A lot of them go into financial engineering. A lot of them go into data science. A lot of them go to an MBA degree in finance, marketing, or entrepreneurship. A lot of people, two of our chief justices did BSc in physics. Asked why, Mr. Doshi trained our mind to think analytically and logically. And that's what physics does to you. So don't worry about the future, miss. The future will take care of itself. Do what you enjoy. If you like physics or any of the sciences, chemistry. After chemistry, you can go into so many different fields. You can do a master's, PhD, and go into academia or teach. All the pharma companies, majority of the pharma companies have been started by PhD in chemistry. You can do a master's in flavors and fragrances. You can do an MBA degree and join a company like Unilever, Procter & Gamble in marketing. You can do finance and do mergers and acquisitions of chemical companies. You can go into public health. You may go into the whole area of hospital management. You can go into law and do patent law. There's so much of potential in chemistry. So don't worry about the future. Even things like biochemistry, like chemistry, you can go and do so many different options. You can do genetics, you can do immunology, you may go into microbiology, molecular biology, food science, dairy science. People are not aware of it, sadly. We don't encourage pure sciences because it's always looked down upon. Typically, oh, if you do chemistry, biochemistry, you become a salesman for a pharma company. Not at all. The times have changed. But if you can do pure sciences with computer science together and use AI tools, sky's the limit. Computational biology, looking at the CRISPR, looking at gene splicing, fantastic career options are there. So even if you do biochemistry, chemistry, physics, great option. Even mathematics opens up the same options for you. So don't worry that if I do a STEM, I have to do engineering or medicine. Not at all. If you don't like medicine, go and do biochemistry. So many different doors open up for you in biochemistry, public health, hospital management, doing patent law, doing research work, going into data science. I've got 2 of my students did biochemistry and data science, and they're working in analytics. They analyze data in healthcare industry, in the pharma industry, doing so well today. So don't worry about, so pure sciences opens up lots of doors for you in case engineering or biochemistry doesn't open up for you, or medicine doesn't open up for you, stick to pure science. The world is beautiful. Pure science is one of the most beautiful things you can do. And answering the question, gentlemen asked, humanities also. After any humanities degree, you can do so many exciting. Let's say you do a BA in history. You can do a master's in history, do a PhD, go into academia. You can top it up with an MBA degree. My own son did history and German. And my wife was aghast, Indian mother, Gujarati mother, how can you not do PCM? But it is MBA in finance and master's in public policy. You can go into international relations. You can do an MBA degree in finance, marketing. You can do hotel management. You may go into advertising, publications, filmmaking, radio, journalism. You can do a law degree. So sky's the limit. What you do at an undergraduate degree is irrelevant. Coming back to your question, if engineering and medicine closes for you, 10 more doors will open up for you. Embrace them. And believe me, if you talk to a good counsel, he'll tell you what sort of career paths can open up for you. So don't worry about that. Do pure sciences also, or pure humanities. The world is at your feet.
All right, so we are
running out of time. Sorry about that.
Thank you very much for
My
your
pleasure.
Very valuable words. And I'm very sure that all the children, all the kids here, they will take this back and hope to implement in their lives as well. A huge round of applause for Mr. Viral Joshi, please. Ladies and gentlemen, as Indian students increasingly look beyond national borders for higher education, what drives their desire for foreign universities? In our next panel discussion, we will explore the trends, opportunities, and challenges faced by Indian students pursuing international education and the impact on India's talent pool and global competitiveness. Let me please welcome Akshay Chaturvedi, who is joining us virtually, Dr. Sanjay Kumar, Shweta Jain, and Vishal Talwar. They'll be in conversation with Ambika here.
Welcome to our discussion on the global Indian student, the lure of the foreign university on the NDTV Education Conclave. Now, despite global events casting a shadow on international education, the dream of studying abroad remains a cherished aspiration for many Indian students and their parents. In fact, until last year, we saw a remarkable 50% increase in students seeking to study abroad with long queues outside visa offices, a testament to their fervor. While the current scenario may have tempered enthusiasm, the desire to pursue international education remains strong. Our guests here will explore the motivations, benefits, and challenges of studying abroad and what the future holds for Indian students seeking global opportunities. So let me introduce our panelists. We have with us Mr. Akshay Chaturvedi, founder and CEO Leverage Edu. He's joining us on Zoom. We have with us Dr. Sanjay Kumar, founder Soham Global Education, founding country director Harvard Lakshmi Mittal and Family South Asia Institute, also author Kathyar to Kennedy, The Road Less Traveled. Joining us, Mr. Vishal Talwar, Chief Operating Officer, University of Southampton, Delhi. And we have with us Shweta Jain, National Head, Channel Management and Distribution, Credila Financial Services. It's really a pleasure to have you all here today with us on NDTV Education panel. I would like to begin with you, Dr. Kumar. In your book, Kathyar to Kennedy, The Road Less Traveled, you share your remarkable journey, from Kathyar to Harvard. Now, as someone who has navigated the complexities of international education, what advice would you like to give, students here or Indian students who are aspiring to study at top universities abroad? And also, how can they make the most of these opportunities?
Yeah, thank you. So, I think regarding my journey, to be honest, when I came to Delhi as a student from Bihar, a small town in Bihar, I am a first-generation learner. Yes. I had never heard about Harvard University, to be honest, until I was a student at JNU. I was doing my MPhil and PhD. So when I was working with a women's organization called SEVA, I got an opportunity to go to do a small diploma program in the Netherlands. And until then, I was a student of JNU. So I witnessed a stark difference between our university and the ISS at Hague. And the classroom there was so vibrant, and the professionalism of the faculty and the library. So it really worked for me as an appetizer. And that is when I decided that I have to come back to the one of the Western countries to study further. And as I had finished my PhD afterwards, so I did not know what to do, but that hunger was there to go back to a Western classroom. And while I was working with SEVA, I was writing recommendation for many interns and the students who were interning with us. I realized that after my recommendation, when a lot of students are getting, scholarships or admission abroad, I should also try and, study. So at the age of late 30s, wow, I decided to study again. And by then I thought that, now at this age, if I am applying to go somewhere, I should go to the best place. So I only applied at Harvard. And you got in? And I got in, and also with 100% scholarship. Wow. So that was something really very important, because while working with an NGO, I did not have much saving to spend into my education. And at that too, when I had 2 kids, so I had to look after their education too. So I took them along. Wow. And it was a great exposure for me and for my kids. I think for anyone sitting here and listening to this conversation, I think going abroad and studying from a good university, gives you a lot of exposure. And as Viral Saab was also mentioning about the network and the, now I feel that Harvard and the Harvard community is like second family to me, a family to me. And I also headed the Harvard Club of India. Harvard has a very vibrant community in India. So I was elected as a president, and I also served there. So I think it's a great exposure to go to any good university. And as he was mentioning, going to good university and where, there are a lot of things related to it. Affordability is one thing. And then what do you want to study, what you really enjoy. These things are really important. But for me, it was a great
But what an
opportunity.
incredible, like a remarkable journey. I mean, at the age, it's never too late, I think, to do something.
Yes.
And we are going to come, not just exposure, we want to ask you the other things, compared to Indian studies, when we look at global education, we are going to come back to that. Thank you for
Sure.
sharing your
Sure.
journey, really inspirational. Let's just go across to Mr. Akshay Chaturvedi. I would like to ask you here, we have been talking about, we've just heard Dr. Kumar's journey. Akshay, if you could tell us, the data shows a significant surge in Indian students opting for higher education abroad, with a remarkable 50% year-over-year increase. Now, what do you think is driving this trend? What do you think is the biggest lure for Indian students? Is it the access to cutting-edge research and technology? Is it the state-of-art labs, the repetition of top universities, the opportunity to develop critical thinking and interdisciplinary skills, or the promise of global exposure? What's your take on that, Akshay?
Fantastic. You could hear me well, right?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
No, thanks to you and the NDTV team for having me. It's a mix of, just to very quickly answer your question, it's a mix of all of those things that you mentioned and then some more. And I am right now in New York as I kind of answer your question, which kind of, I'm living that mission every single day myself. And I can tell you that I don't essentially think of it as abroad versus India or overseas versus local. I think of it from the perspective of a student should really pursue something that they have passion for. And it's great to be that this session is succeeding what Mr. Viral Doshi said. I think he made some really pertinent points about a kid really figuring out whether they are at the age of 16 or 18 or 20 or 21 or even like in their early or late 30s, like Sir just mentioned right now. As long as you're able to figure out what you want to do in life and to kind of quote a dear friend Rancho from 3 Idiots, right? Like as long as you're doing something which you really love, you will be able to find success at it. So I think if you, for example, want to pursue luxury management, it makes sense for you to be somewhere in West Europe, in Germany or France. If you want to study management, if you want to kind of do something in politics in the longer run, it makes sense for you to kind of go to the many programs at Harvard. If you want to pursue something in culinary arts, it makes sense for you to go somewhere else, automotive, Germany, somewhere in UK, somewhere in Detroit, work at Tesla, whatnot. So I think as long as people are able to identify what they want to do, and then figure out whether they need to be in India, whether they need to be in, say for AI purposes, they need to be rather looking eastwards. Does it make sense for them to be in Singapore or Hong Kong or say somewhere in China? Or does it kind of really make sense for them to be in India for some specific program where India is doing really well, for example, manufacturing? We have a bunch of really cool colleges out there. So I think I would put that as the core, and because we are speaking to a lot of students in this room today, we should put that as the core fundamental principle. Hey, what do I really want to do? What if I pursue this will kind of lead to this path? And then figure out, okay, what are the best universities to pursue this program? What are the best towns in the world which will have respect for this program so that I can succeed once I pursue this program? And as long as you can essentially build a very straight, structured line on that journey for yourself, I think that's when you're able to truly measure the ROI, be it short or long term, and then essentially say that, okay, studying abroad worked for me.
I think that's really important, first knowing what you really want to do and then seeing where that course is the best. Vishal, I want to come to you here. Many foreign universities are opening campuses in India, talking about the University of Southampton, Delhi campus, if I can ask you about that. Are you seeing the same traction and interest in international education here as well, compared to what it is globally? And what opportunities as well as challenges are you facing in terms of access?
So thank you for your question. Look, I think it's an opportunity for University of Southampton. In fact, it's an opportunity for a lot of the campuses that have recently announced their entry into India. Obviously, if we look at it from a perspective of a country that is India, there's a wide requirement, in a way, if I could call it that. If you look at what the objectives for the new education policy is, if you look at what we intend to do, we want to move up from a gross enrollment ratio perspective. We want to move up in terms of ensuring that people who are supposed to be in undergraduate education are in undergraduate education. So automatically that also means that it will require the coexistence of a lot of different kinds of higher education ecosystems, right? At the end of the day, what is an international university of a certain stature? What are they intending to do? They're intending to bring in, extend a lot of the globally relevant curriculum, which in a sense is a combination of depth in terms of their domain knowledge, as well as a clear development of transferable skills, right? So it's a combination of depth as far as learning is concerned, but at the same time, something that can be applied and practically across the kind of job environments or corporate environments, or entrepreneurial environments that students want to go to, right? So I think this is obviously an opportunity for both sides at this moment of time. To be a truly global university, you have to be able to ensure that you're part of the Indian growth story, right? And that's essentially what this is all about. With respect to challenges, we haven't necessarily, faced any challenges per se, right? What you have to remember here is that there's obviously something wherein, the Ministry of Education, whether it's the Ministry of External Affairs, a lot of them are looking at, bringing in universities into the country. So that also means that, they will be bringing their own systems, they will be bringing their thought processes, they will be bringing their, the kind of faculty that teach over there. They'll be bringing their centers of excellence, they'll be bringing their, thought and research impact. Yeah. And I think that all adds a lot of value to the vibrant and dynamic ecosystem that India is.
Yeah, which works for both, actually, like you rightly said.
Absolutely.
Moving on, Shweta, with the rising cost of studying abroad, we know how, difficult it can be. It is a challenge. There's this growing scrutiny about whether the investment truly translates into the expected outcomes. We have been talking about, Mr. Doshi was saying about jobs as well. It is a challenge. Now, getting from your experience, do you think that the financial burden of studying abroad is justified by the potential returns? Like, do you think one gets a better job prospect as well as higher salaries? What's your take on that?
Interesting question, because somehow whenever we are talking about investment, we are only talking about investment in study abroad in terms of monetary investment. We are absolutely missing out on the time, effort also, and the distance that is going. And the entire measure of the return is only through a job. What is very important is, I think we are talking about higher education here. The education and the experience and exposure, which translates into experience and education that stays with the child forever. So one thing is, it's very incorrect to judge the return only in terms of on a monetary scale.
Sure.
Second, what I would say is that education in India is again on a rising trend, right? The costs is not very, very different. And talking about things, that is where there are multiple funding options that have come in, right? Many higher education, they offer scholarships, there are education loans that are available. And that is what it makes things more easily accessible, right? So that's one thing I would want to say.
Yeah, I think, okay, you have a point that it shouldn't only be monetary, of course. Dr. Kumar, again, you were talking about exposure, but I did say I'll come back to you when we look at the challenges in Indian universities, and that is the reason many students want to go abroad, or even as parents, we think, is it the right thing to do? Now, your experience founding many leading institutions, you have so much experience, you have a perspective on Indian education system, because you studied here as well as there. Now, given the controversies surrounding, the opaque entrance examination systems in India, how can we reform these processes to make them more transparent, fair, and effective in assessing, the real student potential?
You mean, how do we change the Indian education system?
Yeah, like, examinations, like making it, when we talk about the exam system, how can we really change that? Because that's a big challenge many students face here.
So in terms of getting into college?
Yes.
I think
fairness as well, fairness as well when it comes to so many entrance exams.
Yeah, so I think in terms of fairness, we heard the Honorable Minister this morning. So I think on that part, we are improving a lot year by year, because these organizations like NTS, they are also learning and improving upon. But I think in terms of exams to enter into IITs and IIMs, these are making also very like difficult for students to get into, and even the CUET. So nowadays that is one reason why a lot of parents and students are opting to go out, because they find that getting admission abroad is easier than getting into an Indian.
That is a big challenge, yes.
Yeah, that's a big challenge. So I think not only, so we can adopt some of the system that the international universities are adopting, like they in the admission processes. So apart from exams, there could be method of essays. Some of the private universities here, they are also doing that.
Essays, so that, yeah, you get to know the child better.
Yeah,
well beforehand.
essays and, their profile, whatever they have done in the past, not only the academic part, but there could be other methods to evaluate students. So it's just one exam that is evaluating the entire lot.
So we look at the holistic approach.
Yes,
yeah, maybe,
yes. So
yeah.
that is missing from our entrance systems, and that is why a lot of students are going abroad, I think.
So missing that one, I mean, not just focus on the marks, but
Yes.
keep a lot more things,
Yeah,
and you look at the overall performance.
how
I think,
do we
yeah.
evaluate differently?
How do we make it different so that there's less pressure on the child?
Correct,
Okay, I think
correct.
that's really well answered. I hope, the
Correct,
children, yeah,
correct,
okay.
correct.
So Akshay, I want to ask you, what are the kind of courses and programs that students are most interested in, and how do you guide them in making informed decisions? What are the most common questions and concerns they have when considering when they want to go abroad? Is it about the curriculum, the career opportunities, campus life? Are they looking for specialized programs, research opportunities, or something else? Because I'm sure so many children come to you. So what are they really looking out for?
I think you have answered some of what they're already looking for when you asked Shweta that question around ROI, right? A lot of people want to have a clear sight of what is my return on investment, and I think that answer got, picked up really well. In terms of programs, that keeps changing, and as it rightly should. For example, over the last couple of years, we saw a large rise of programs in people wanting to study data science, business analytics, anything and everything which would essentially put them in a job as soon as possible as they graduate, because that's how they're measuring the worth of their education, fortunately or unfortunately. They should have some oversight, but of course, at the end of the day, I think that a remark around having a longer arc on higher education is very, very important. But if you see more specifically over the last 12 to 18 months, we have seen a massive rise in AI. We are seeing universities adapt and launch new AI-layer programs, AI in healthcare, AI in marketing, AI in, you would say, I think, just about every single layer of operating, as the word kind of moves around the way these days. And then we're also seeing a lot of growth in areas like biotech. So let me kind of just take, I will spend maybe 30 more seconds to take something that you were previously mentioning, the NEET exam and what happened around that, right? And that has led a lot of people to say, okay, I will take the NEET exam, I'll spend 5 to 7 years becoming a doctor, then I'll do some of these specializations. It will take me probably roughly 8 to 10 years to become a doctor and start bringing 50, 70,000 rupees a month. Does it essentially make for a better opportunity if I pursue a program in biotech, which is anyway where AI is taking the word, where I can essentially think about putting a chip in somebody's brain or putting a chip in somebody's heart or lungs or kidney or wherever that is, and be able to treat them in a much more enhanced manner? So I think given the amount of knowledge out there today, with ChatGPT and Grok, given the ecosystem that has come around today with all of us, I think students are much more aware. They have way more information than what I had 20 years back when I was choosing my career. And I think that then leads them to demand these programs for the university.
Yes.
And thankfully, I think this goes back to maybe just 10 more seconds. This goes back to the point that was made before, that Indian universities, as amazing as they are, there's sometimes even the IITs, they're very, very slow to adapt to newer programs in terms of how the world is changing. And I think that makes so much difference. You have universities out there in the West moving very, very quickly in terms of what industry demands, and then kind of making that bridge between academia to industry. That is essentially the cornerstone at which studying abroad is built.
So really seeing what is needed at that point. Thank you so much, Akshay, for sharing your expertise and joining us today on the NDTV Education Conclave. Shweta, I want to come to you quickly. You have worked, at Credila, obviously you worked with so many students and families who have come to you seeking, for education loans when they want to go study abroad. What are some of the more, according to you, some courses which you think are popular, or they're coming to you when they want to pursue international education? And also, how do you help them navigate these costs? Because very often, that is a huge challenge for many families.
Interesting question. Of course, world is STEM focused, right? So there is definitely a demand for STEM focused courses, and hence we do definitely see a lot of application coming to us for STEM courses. When talking about how students we try and navigate, we of course, in our loan journey, again, we are assisting the student and the parents. We are just trying to assess what their previous education background has been, how relevant the current course would be. Personal discussions give us glimpse about the student's aspiration. And sometimes in these conversations, we understand what they're really aspiring to be. As such, we try and stay away from guidance around what is the right course, but of course,
That's
conversations
what you
happen.
generally see, that's what you see, those are STEM
There is a huge, of course, tilt towards STEM, which is an acronym for science, technology, engineering, and medicine, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So that's what you see, okay,
Yes.
great. Vishal, if I could just come to you, we're talking about the rise of foreign campuses, so that kids can have that global exposure here in India itself, which obviously promises improved access to international education, and that's what we're talking about. If I could just ask you here, how will the presence of foreign university campuses in India impact the local education landscape here?
Look, obviously, this is an opportunity for both the foreign campuses coming into the country as well as for the Indian higher education ecosystem to be able to collaborate towards higher goals, right? When I talk about foreign universities, they bring in a certain kind of curriculum. They bring in, for example, a research-orientated approach to the learning in the classroom, backed up by a lot of analysis, for example, backed up by a certain level of depth, backed up by a lot of individual pieces of work assessed, the rigor, for example, right? This, along with a lot of practicality and the application of what this could mean when you go into the real world or when you go and do jobs or careers or whatever you would like to do at a later stage, right? I think at the same time, it is an opportunity for a lot of these universities from abroad, global campuses, to come along and participate in a lot of what I would call as cutting-edge research, right? Whether they do it by themselves, whether they do it along with a lot of, institutions in the country, right? So when I talk about, let's say, University of Southampton, right, as a whole, we have a lot of different partnerships, across the world, including in India. And these partnerships are on not just about the learning and the education in the classroom. This is also about research in areas that are very impactful or will create impact. Now, whether that be in terms of, let's say wireless communication, whether that be in terms of fiber optics, whether that be in terms of cutting edge areas like, was mentioned earlier about artificial intelligence, for example. I think all this together will definitely create impact, not only in terms of knowledge dissemination, but also in terms of knowledge creation. And I think this is definitely mutually beneficial collaboration, the way I see it.
Collaboration that really, impacts both. I think students are in your country, they're learning the best, they are kind of getting the global exposure as well. Dr. Kumar, I want to ask you, lastly, the situation in the US has changed recently, and I think a lot of parents here, students would want to know, what does this really mean for Indian students who want to study in the United States? What will this do for university enrollments in other countries, because with the situation in US, and do you think there will be a huge change?
I think it's a very temporal thing. For me, until last year, Canada was going through the same issue, but now we suddenly see that Canadian government and Indian government has started to talk. So it will improve the situation. So I am pretty hopeful that this will also settle down, because US higher education contributes a lot to the research and the growth of the country. it has, like attracted a lot of talents from all over the world, and especially from our country to the US, and a lot of them are contributing very positively. So I think, it's a very temporal thing when Mr. Trump is trying to settle down few scores with Harvard and other universities. But I am pretty hopeful that
That
the
things will
situation-
be back.
There is some doubt and, among the parents here and the students. But as we see that the geopolitical situation will keep changing and improving.
So you
I
think things will improve?
Yes,
yeah?
yes, of course.
And since we have your story is so inspirational, we have youngsters here. Just if you could share with us a little bit more about your experience at Harvard, because it was a really transformative one. If you could share with us students here, what are the lessons that you really carried from there and you've brought it back here?
Yeah, of course. So I think one thing that I really learned from my Harvard experience was multiculturalism and how do you listen to different perspectives. So in one classroom you have students from 100 different countries, and you are interacting with each of them, and that makes you really a very global citizen, or in terms of thinking, you open up your mind. So that is one. Professionalism was something that I really learned very well, that I find missing from faculties and in the higher education system here. I keep saying that in a top university like Delhi University or JNU, nowadays when a student goes to attend a class, when they are on their way, they are on their way to classroom, they suddenly get a WhatsApp message that their class is cancelled. It's a very, very rare thing in a university like Harvard.
Sure.
Even if they used to cancel the class, they would announce, and that used to happen in a very, very extraordinary situation. They would immediately tell you the next class,
yeah.
when they will arrange the next class. But here the professionalism is, that is something we need to catch up. So I was able to learn and observe that. That was amazing. And last but not the least, I think the kind of people you get to interact with, the kind of network that you build. One of my classmates is now the Prime Minister of Mongolia. So the kind of
So
classmates,
networking is
the
important,
network and the
exposure,
classmates,
what you
yes.
said,
So
and
it really
professionalism.
opens up your mind, and it really gives you a lot of opportunity to explore.
So explore and also different perspective towards life.
Right,
It's
right.
really been a pleasure to have you all with us today. Thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you.
I'll go directly and do that. Ladies and gentlemen, in this particular session, we'll be talking about AI, and this is something very exciting. AI is not just the buzzword at this moment. AI, in fact, is the reality, and this is something that has been reiterated again and again by many of the panelists here. In fact, AI is revolutionizing education, but the big question is, what does the future hold when it comes to AI? We'll try and have a conversation, and I request my guests at this point of time to join us. Joining us virtually is Professor B. Ravindran. I also have Deepali Upadhyay, Dr. Vijay Datta, and Professor Syed E. Hasnan. I would request everyone to please join us on stage. Professor B. Ravindran, he's the head Wadhwani School of Data Science and AI, IIT Madras. He is joining us virtually. I also have Dipali Upadhyay, Program Lead, Atal Innovation Mission. I also have Mr. Dr. Vijay Datta, the Principal, Modern School, Barakhamba Road. Sir, you're quite famous here because a lot of these students, they have been speaking about you. They have been speaking good things about you. I hope
I'm
you are...
sure. Well, is it on?
It is, it is.
Fair enough. Thank you.
I also have Professor Sayyadi Hasnan, Distinguished Professor of Life Sciences, Sharda University. Before I come to the guests, raise your hands if you use AI to write your assignments. Very few show of hands. I'll rephrase this. Raise your hands if you use AI to take help to finish your assignment. Now we have a lot of hands. All right, Professor B. Ravindran, my first question to you is, when it comes to AI, how excited are you about AI, especially in education, and how it is changing education system at this moment?
I mean, AI is really revolutionizing education at this point, right? In fact, at a recent event, I thought I was making a controversial remark, but a lot of people agreed with me on this. I'm saying that education, as we know it, right, is over. I mean, we still haven't caught on to it, but I think not only is it going to change the way we teach and change the way the students learn, but AI is also going to change what we are going to teach. So we really have to take a hard look at how we are going to design our curriculum and so on and so forth. I'm both as a teacher and as somebody who has been working in AI for the last 30 years, I'm really excited at this current state of affairs we have. Right? So a lot of things to work through as a community, as a teaching community, and also as a AI research community to figure out how AI can be shaped in a way that we are still ensuring that our students are learning the right skills needed to survive.
Professor Ravindran, having said that, how do you think teachers, professors, educators in general should adapt to an AI-driven education system, and what role will they play in ensuring that students develop these essential skills?
Okay. So the first thing is there is a significant lack of awareness among educators as to what are the true capabilities of these AI systems. Right? So having spoken to a good cross-section of both school teachers and college teachers, I see that people tend to err on both sides of the spectrum. There are people who think, AI tools are, very, very powerful, and they are going to be able to answer every question that the student has. And teachers are actually using AI tools to, set assignments and make lesson plans and so on and so forth. They trust the output of the AI to a great extent. At the other extreme, so we have people who have absolutely no knowledge about these AI tools, and quite often they are learning about these tools from their students, as opposed to teaching the students how to use these tools. And that's a really worrisome state of affairs. So the thing that teachers have to do right now is to make sure that they are picking up the skills that are required to understand what is the true impact of AI. For example, you cannot trust the current generation, at least, of AI systems to flawlessly generate assignment questions, right? Or even right answers. Many of you are using AI, as you said, through your show of hands, but use it as a research tool, right? Don't trust the output that comes from the AI 100%. Quite often, these models make mistakes. Right? Yeah. So we have to figure out what is the right mix of use of AI versus non-use of AI. Right? I'll just give you one example. Right? So when nowadays all of us use calculators to do even simple arithmetic. Right? So even if you want to verify a bill in a restaurant, you pull out your phone and use the calculator. But when you are in school, we do not let the kids use calculators too early on. Right? So we want to make sure that they learn their arithmetic before they lose that ability to add numbers and then rely on calculators. Right? So like that, we have to figure out what are the essential skills that we have to impart to the children before we let them rely completely on AI systems to fulfill their goals for them. So there are things like critical thinking, the ability to do research, the ability to make arguments, right? Cogent arguments, a variety of things, right? Logical thinking. All of these are essential skills which we cannot rely on AI system to do for us. And these are things that we really have to figure out how to impart to the kids, right? Before we let them start using AI in order to finish their assignments and their lessons.
Right. In fact, a point that you have raised, it's a very crucial point about exposing young children to AI and what should be the appropriate age that these children are exposed to AI. We understand, Professor Ravindran, you are a busy man and you have some other commitment at the moment. So thank you very much for joining us at this time. I'd like to ask Dr. Datta, when it comes to human connect, how do you think human connection is crucial in education, and how can teachers, educators, they can maintain this connection in AI-infused learning environments, especially in schools?
Well, the human connect is very important. And firstly, I would like to compliment Professor who just spoke, because I thought as an expert he would only talk about the benefits of AI, but he said it has both sides to it. And the human connect, especially at the school level, is very, very important, because the impact, the influence of the teacher is only when it's one-to-one interaction. It is not so much through the artificial intelligence. The online teaching, as we experienced it in the COVID, didn't work as much as the offline does. So the, say, mentorship, the guidance can be given only when it is one-to-one and minus AI and even technology to a larger extent, I would say. But while I say all this, I don't mean to negate altogether the benefits of AI. AI is here to stay, and there are a lot of benefits, and these children should be taught how to put them into the best use. When you talk about the human touch and